What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, in this video, I want to talk about a segment that I saw on Fox Sports, First Things First, with Nick Wright and Chris Broussard, and they were talking about uh, the healthy rivalry that exists between Kawhi Leonard and LeBron James, and they're talking about the fact that these guys have a healthy amount of respect for one another, and that it kind of differs from the rivalry between LeBron and Stephen Curry. And I talked about this in my video that LeBron pretty much doesn't, he doesn't see Curry as being on his level, and I don't either. You know, even though somehow, some way in that video, some people saw me as a LeBron hater in that video. I don't know. It is what it is. I don't care anymore, man. You know, if you think a certain way about me, that's fine. You know, but anyway, my issue with that segment, as always, is Nick Wright. Um, I don't get it with this guy. He's constantly cherry picking. He's constantly, uh, even sometimes lying, outright lying. I mean, he's. I don't know what's up with this guy and this Finals MVP thing. Like, he thinks LeBron should have won Finals MVP every year. And this is the thing. Almost always, with one sole exception, no matter how dominant a player is on the losing team, has played on a losing team, the Finals MVP always goes to the best player or the player who played the best during that finals. Period. Ever since 1969, when they started the award, only one time did a losing player get that award. Now I'll get to that in a moment. I don't like how Nick Wright cherry picked Kawhi's performance, like to say that LeBron was robbed. You know what I'm saying? Like, um, it's annoying. It's so fucking annoying, man. Like, well, the first Kawhi had some games there. We only had single digits. How did he get it? And LeBron averaged 28, 8, and 4 on 57% shooting and 52% from three. This is the thing. When you talk about the entire series, yeah, LeBron's numbers were magical. But you got to go back into that time period, 2014. This is when Kawhi Leonard was mostly known as a defensive stopper. He was just known as a defensive stopper. During that season, Kawhi averaged 12.8 points per game. So this is not a guy that was known for filling it up. His rookie year, he averaged less than 8 points per game. Kawhi has been developing his game on the offensive end slowly but surely. Now, I don't remember everything about that finals, but I'm willing to bet that if his numbers were that high throughout that series, they may have been better earlier on, even better earlier on in that series. I'm talking about LeBron. But I do know this. In the last three games of that series, Kawhi scored 29, 20, and 22 points. This is a guy that wasn't known for scoring. Not only was he dominating on the defensive end, but he was putting up big numbers, and he was shooting the lights out. That's another thing. He was shooting the lights out. I think he shot 69% from the floor in that series. That's why he won Finals MVP. And let me get back to this thing about LeBron and the finals thing. Like, Nick Wright outright lied a couple of months ago and said it was this conspiracy to keep LeBron from winning the Finals MVP in 2015 against the Warriors. When LeBron did have some great numbers. I mean, absolutely phenomenal numbers aside from the shooting percentage. But that was a lie. That was an outright total fabrication. The one time that an NBA player has won the Finals MVP, albeit on a losing team, was Jerry West in 1969, the first time they issued an award. And I don't want to sound like Nick Wright, so I'm going to qualify this by saying this is just my opinion. This is pure speculation. I have no evidence whatsoever to back this up. Nothing. Nothing. But I suspect that the reason why they gave Jerry West that award is because of three things. Number one, the historic numbers he put up in that series. I can't remember his all-around numbers, but I do know he averaged something like 40 point, I think it was like 40.6 points per game or something like that. I'm assuming he might have averaged like 6 rebounds, maybe 6 or 7 assists. I mean, just phenomenal overall numbers. Then I think there was a sympathy factor. Jerry West, that was the 5th time I believe that he lost in the NBA Finals. And I believe it was the 5th time he lost to the Lakers. The Celtics. All right? So he was 0 for 5. He would lose again in 1970, win in 1972, but lose again in 1973 to make him 1-8. No, matter of fact, you know what? Let me think about that. Let me see. 05, 1970 made him 0-6. 1972, well, no, he was 0 for 6. I take that back. He was 0-6. He was 0-6. So a part of it was a sympathy factor. And maybe, you got to throw in especially being this 1969, you got to throw in the racial aspect of it, man. It could have been somewhere in some of the voters' minds, a moral victory for a guy that looks like them that they like. I mean, you would be very naive if you don't even throw that out there. But like I said, I have no evidence whatsoever to back that up. Unlike Nick Wright, I don't say things without evidence. Okay, and say them if they're true. This is pure speculation on my part. Let me reiterate that. That's pure speculation on my part. I have no evidence to back that up. But it would make sense. Okay? Now, I'm going to give you another example of a guy winning Finals MVP. Despite the fact that a guy on the other team dominated, and despite the fact he was playing with a Hall of Fame teammate, Cedric Maxwell. All right, Cedric Maxwell is right now the only player in NBA history to win a Finals MVP who is eligible for the Hall of Fame and has not made the Hall of Fame. In 1981, I think Cedric Cornbread Maxwell averaged like 17.8 points and 9.5 rebounds. And he won the Finals MVP in that series. Larry Bird didn't win it, I think, primarily because he struggled with shooting in that series. That was a very low-scoring finals, by the way, when you consider the era. Very low-scoring finals. And Moses Malone, for that series, averaged 23 points and almost 16 rebounds per game. So you would think, wow, man, those are some big, phenomenal numbers. But Cedric Maxwell did a very good job, along with Robert Parrish, of containing and neutralizing Moses Malone in that series. Moses Malone averaged 9 free throw attempts per game in that series, which is down for what you would expect for a guy like him in a series like that to average. And he shot only 40% from the floor in that series. One of those games, he was only 11 of 30. Another game, he was 4 for 17. So they really made Moses have a hard time. They neutralized Moses Malone because at that time, Moses Malone was the most dominant player in the NBA. You know what I'm saying? I think the very next season, Moses averaged like 31 points. That was a totally different Moses from the one we saw in the mid to late 80s. That dude was a beast. It was nothing for Moses to put up 30 points and 20 rebounds in the game. So that's why Cedric Maxwell won that Finals MVP. If you take if you go 40 years later and you don't look at these things in context, You'll say, well, Larry Bird got robbed. No, he didn't. Maxwell got rewarded. And there have been other situations where guys on losing teams have performed brilliantly, but they didn't win MVP, or the award just didn't exist back then. Rick Barry this is before they gave the Finals MVP. Rick Barry, I think, averaged like 40.6 or 40.8 in 1967 against the Philadelphia 76ers. And, you know, Charles Barkley in 1993, he averaged something like close to 26 and 13 in that finals against the Bulls, but Jordan averaged 41, and they won. All right, so just stop that. I just wish Nick Wright would stop it. I mean, he can have his opinion, but he's not, to me, being intellectually honest about everything. Okay, I have my opinions, but I have to present everything. I can't just nitpick and say, oh, look what A and B is saying, but I'm totally ignoring what C and D is saying, which is contrary to my argument. Now, lawyers do that, you know, but they get paid to do that. But anyway, talking about these two dudes, Kawhi Leonard and LeBron James. Historically, no, it's not close between these two guys, in my opinion. LeBron's a top 10 player at the very least. I'm struggling to put Kawhi in my top 50 because despite the two Finals MVPs and on two different teams, despite that, I just need him to do more and sustain this excellence a little bit more, in my opinion. I think he's only been an All-Star 3 or 4 times. I think he's averaged only 20 points per game in the season. This will be his third time. I need him to do it a little bit more for me to feel comfortable putting him ahead guys. Historically, I'm talking about a historical sense. It's hard for me to put him ahead of guys like Scottie Pippen and Clyde Drexler and George Gervin and Gary Payton and even Curry, historically, because they have done it for years. If you guys remember, back in 2015, I was hesitant to proclaim Curry as the greatest shooter of all time and the greatest three-point shooter of all time at that time because he hadn't sustained it long enough. But here we are 4 years later, and yeah, I feel comfortable calling him that now because he had done it for a decade. With me, I like longevity. I like for a guy to do things for a period of time. I try not to get caught up in the moment. We all can do that. We all can be prisoners of the moment. But I try to look at these things from a historical perspective. And I try as much as possible to eliminate recency bias from my opinions because we all can do it. Even I do it. Sometimes, I'm a little bit embarrassed of a video I did a couple of years ago where I called Russell Westbrook the Michael Jordan of his generation. And I think I used the wrong title for that one. I should have said something like Russell Westbrook is the most competitive player I've seen since. I probably should have said Kobe, honestly. I don't think I think that video hasn't aged well. All right. Now, back to the point. All right. I mean, I guess the point of their sketch, not sketch, but the point of their segment. Um, does Kawhi Leonard pose a threat to LeBron James and the Lakers? Of course. Of course. But at the same time, you have this season, when he's healthy, a rejuvenated LeBron James. Never, I mean, aside from the recent stuff that's come out about the practices and the little, the injuries that LeBron now has, which are worrisome if you're a Laker fan or a LeBron fan. But, if LeBron is healthy, or reasonably healthy for a guy that's played 17 years, the opposite is true. The Lakers pose a significant problem for the Clippers just because of the fact that they have LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and all those bigs and their interior defense. And one of the Clippers' problems is that they are somewhat small down low. It makes you wonder if they should go after a guy like Andre Drummond, who's the best rebounder in the game. But what would they give up for him, though? Do you want to drastically alter your team just to get a guy like that? But he would help their team out tremendously, I think, in a championship run. Or even a guy like Kevin Love, who wants to be traded. So, there's that. But these two guys, man, like when I see these two guys play, I see clearly two of the best players in the NBA right now. And the rivalry is there. Whether or not LeBron wants to admit it publicly or not, the rivalry is there. They're both in LA. The Lakers have dominated LA for decades. Up until 5, 6 years ago, the Lakers were the most popular team in the Western Conference and the most popular team in California. They recently were dethroned by the Warriors, okay, and now it's to the point where, the Lakers are still trying to be the most popular team in their own city. Because this Clippers team has a chance to be the best individual Clipper team in the city's history. Now, I understand there were years with Paul George and Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan, but ultimately that team fell short. So, this is the thing. Historically, LeBron James has nothing to prove anymore. Not really. But LeBron James wants to still prove that he's still among the upper tier players. If not the best, certainly one of the top 3 or 4 best in his mind. Kawhi Leonard wants to prove once and for all, because there's still some people that are on the fence about him, that he is one of the most dominant players in today's game, one of the clutch performers, and he's a guy that gets the job done when his team needs him to come through. That's what caused all of those Jordan comparisons last year in the playoffs. And it's going to be a scintillating matchup if and when these two guys play against each other. And it's an if right now because I think I saw Ticket do a video saying that it's questionable if LeBron or AD are going to play on Christmas Day. And if they don't play, the Lakers are going to lose that game. And then you're going to have all of the criticisms. People are going to say, "Oh, they're ducking the Clippers and all this type stuff." But at the end of the day, I don't know. But that's pretty much it, man. That's pretty much all I got to say about this one. I love it though, man. I love the rivalry. I love look, some of you guys who are younger than me, y'all might see me as a crotchety old man compared to you dudes, but I just come from a different era. Okay, that's how you gotta look at it. Like, I can sometimes be tempted to look at you guys, and the younger guys, like, man, these guys just don't, they just don't get it, man. They're just too buddy, and I don't get this on this generation. But I try to understand. I try to understand that you guys look at things differently. But we are just cut from a different cloth from you guys. We grew up in an era where there was rivalry. And yeah, guys could be friends, but at the end of the day, when you got on the court, that shit went to the side. And I'm used to watching fights. I'm used to watching guys getting in each other's face. I'm not used to guys. Look, that's why I reacted so terribly to the point where, you know, people were making response videos and me calling me like I'm a hater, because that's why I reacted so terribly to that game where James Harden was going for like a career high in a 40-point blowout. That was so anathema to the NBA that I grew up watching. I'm telling you like this. And I have all the respect for Kobe Bryant in the world. Kobe Bryant was playing against the Pistons. I mean the Pistons with Ben Wallace and Rasheed Wallace, Tayshaun Prince, Chauncey Billups. If the Lakers were up like in the third quarter, like 111 to 70, and Kobe had 50 points, right? And Kobe was actively trying to go for like 82 or something like that. I'm telling you now, they would have knocked Kobe on his fucking ass. That's not a knock on Kobe. Kobe would have understood it. That's disrespecting your opponent. It's bad enough that I'm looking up and I'm seeing that we down by 40. I'm already heated because of that. But to have a dude trying to get a career high on me when it's not necessary and you're piling on, man, you got to be fucking, man, I don't know. No, that's something I won't accept. No, that's showing up your opponent. That's like in football when if the Patriots were up by 4 touchdowns or whatever, they're up 49-7, and Tom Brady already has 400 passing yards, and he's trying to get a career That'd be one thing if he was like 3 yards away or something like that. That's borderline. But I want to stay in the game and get 550 passing yards. I want to break the NBA NFL record. They're gonna fucking blitz Tom Brady and try to injure his fucking ass. Damn the rules. That's the difference between my generation and some of you guys. It's just the way we were brought up. All right. Not saying we more macho or whatever, but we just look at things differently. That's just how it is. So, with that said, tell me what you guys think.